Everyone, today's lecture is on cultivation of large cardamom. Yesterday I discussed cultivation of a small cardamom. Now I would like to discuss large cardamom cultivation. It is generally used in spice and black in color. The scientific name of large cardamom is Amomum subulatum and belongs to family Gingiberaceae. Large cardamom has been used in Ayurvedic preparations since ancient times. Now it is mainly used as a spice and for flavoring foods. Its seeds contain 2 to 3% essential oil, a powerful flavoring agent very much resembling to that of a small cardamom. It also possesses certain medicinal properties that act as a carminative, stomachic, diuretic, and effective cardiac stimulant and is a remedy for throat and respiratory troubles. India is the main producer of large cardamom, though the area is confined only to the sub-Himalayan Sikkim and Darjeeling districts in West Bengal, producing about 4,200 tons of cured cardamom annually. Arunachal Pradesh, parts of Himachal Pradesh, and Garhwal hills of Uttaranchal have just initiated its cultivation, in contrast to the present average yield of only 160 kg. Bridging this gap is essential, particularly to gear up production without increasing the area further. Climate and soil for cardamom. Large cardamom is a shade-loving plant, sheophyte. Its natural habitat is humid subtropical semi-evergreen forest on steep hills of eastern sub-Himalayan region. The tracts receive a well-distributed rainfall spread around 200 days with a total of about 3000 to 3500 mm per year. The weather remains mostly cloudy and foggy during monsoon season. It is grown up to 600 to 2350 meter above mean sea level. It is normally cultivated in lower altitudes of cooler areas near to the snow line and higher altitudes of warmer areas. During severe winter, its plants remain dormant and withstand up to 2 degrees centigrade, but the frost and hailstorms are injurious. The flower bud differentiation occur from August in lower altitudes to October in higher altitudes. The initiation of flower buds occur pre-winter on lower elevations, but further development takes place only after the lapse of cold period in early March. On the other hand, in higher elevations, the flower bud initiation and development occurs post-winter in April-May, resulting in late flowering by at least 2 to 3 months compared to plants grown at lower elevations. The continuous rain during flowering is detrimental, as it hampers foraging activity of the pollinator bees, affecting the sensitive flowers and resulting in poor capsule setting and barren spikes. It requires most moist but well-drained loose sandy loam to loamy soils. Its crop requires at least moderate deep 0.6 meter top for its good performance. Due to high rainfall conditions, the soil are mostly acidic, pH 4.5 to 6, and have high exchangeable iron and ammonia. Varieties of large cardamom. There are mainly 6 varieties. Besides, there are several varieties or strains which are named in local dialects of Lepchas, Bhutias, and Nepalese. The varieties are Bebo. The plants have unique features of rhizomes and suckering habit. The rhizomes raised above the ground level with roots penetrate deep into the soil, making it tolerant to drought. The young suckers are covered under thick leaf sheaths, enabling the plants mechanically tolerant to 4K viral infection. It's a very 4K viral infection is very important in large cardamom. The capsules are medium to bold in size. Seeds contain 2% essential oil. Bharlangi. The plants grow very tall up to 2.8 meter with stout pseudostems and large leaves. Each pseudostem rhizomes bears normally 3 spikes. They are big sized, bearing 15 to 20 capsules each. It yields 500 kg of cured capsules per hectare. The capsules are bold and elliptic, light reddish brown, containing 40 to 60 seeds each. The essential oil in seeds being 2.5%. Next variety, gold seed. The plants are less vigorous with erect leafy stems bearing slant upright leaves. It is self-shaded, requiring less shade. The cultivar is mostly grown at low and mid elevations, but some strains grow well even in North Sikkim. The clump size is smaller with less number of tillers and hence suited to close spacing. The leafy stem is greenish to maroonish depending upon the strain. The leaves are dark green, thick and glabrous with prominent midrib. The capsules are bold, roundish with reddish brown to dark pinkish and slightly echinated on an average capsules. Contain about 40 to 55 seeds. The volatile oil content of the seeds is 2 to 3%. It is known for its consistent performance, though not a heavy yielder, and also found immune to chiriki but not to forky disease. The cultivar is, however, susceptible to fungal leaf spot disease. Ramla, the plants are tall and vigorous like those of Ramsay. The capsules are dark, pinkish, uniform and medium bold in size, having 25 to 35 seeds each. The seeds contain 2.2 to 3% volatile oil content. The plants are moderately tolerant to chirki but susceptible to furky disease. Ramsay, its pseudostems are tall, vigorous, slanting with drooping leaves. The tussocks usually attain wider girth. It is suited to higher altitudes as well as on steep slopes, occupying a major area under cultivation in Sikkim and Darjeeling. Capsule size is small with less number of seeds, 16 to 30. The color being reddish brown to maroonish. The essential oil content in seeds is about 1.5 to 1.8% on volume by bed basis. It is susceptible to chirki and furki, especially at lower altitudes. Shane, the plants are vigorous with maroonish to greenish brown leafy stems, slightly tapering towards the apex. The leaves are slender with a smooth surface and papery texture and moderate to dark green color. The variety is widely adapted to low, mid and high altitudes of Sikkim and Darjeeling. The capsules are reddish brown to maroonish, variable in size from medium to bold with volatile oil content of 1.8 to 2.5%. The plants are susceptible to both viral and leaf spot and spike rot diseases. It is a heavy yielder under congenial conditions. Propagation of large cardamom. Large cardamom is commercially propagated through suckers. Seed propagation is not recommended for such clonal material found to be tolerant to viral diseases. Only vegetative propagation is practiced. Primary nursery. Nursery must be located at low or mid elevation, 600 to 1350 meters above mean sea level. The nursery site must be open, sunny, with gentle slope having an access to perennial water source. Raised beds 15 to 20 cm high, 1 meter wide and of any convenient length are prepared. This is the general rules for preparation of raised beds of nursery. About 5 kg of well-rotten cow dung for forest litter along with 50 grams of single superphosphate and 25 grams of muriate of potash are added in 1 meter area of bed. The primary beds must be prepared with a moderate compactness so that structure can be maintained until the seedlings are ready for transplanting into secondary beds. March-April is optimum time for sowing. Seeds are sown 2 cm deep in rows 10 cm apart. About 10 gram seed is enough for 1 meter area. Cover the seeds gently with the fine sand or silt. Mulch the beds uniformly to a thickness of about 2 to 3 cm with dry paddy straw or any dried grass followed by gentle watering. Regular but minimum frequent watering in early morning hours is needed to keep the beds moist. Remove the mulch gently soon after there is peak germination and provide an overhead shade by a knee-height slopy thatch. Nursery beds are kept weed-free. Seedlings are ready for transplanting into secondary beds 3 to 4 months after germination. Now we discuss secondary nursery. Shade is provided by bigger pandals of about 1.6 to 1.8 meter height. The roof is made of thinly woven bamboo mat to allow only the filtered light. The seedlings are spaced at 12 cm in rows 15 cm apart. About 8 secondary beds are generally required for each primary bed. The seedlings are ready for transplanting into the main field after 8 to 10 months. Polybag seedlings are also very popular. The bags with drainage holes of 1 kg capacity are filled with 1:1:2 parts of soil, sand and compost. After planting, these polybags are kept in shade as provided for the secondary beds. Only the true to ripe seedlings of medium to good vigor are selected. Undersized or oversized seedlings and those with grassy shoots or sponge-like leafy stems should be avoided. Now we discuss cultivation aspects for large cardamom. First one is planting. The plantation site should be preferably near a perennial water source. If the area is under forest, it needs initial clearance of bushes, shrubs, vines, etc. Keep only the appropriate shade trees. A layout for footpaths, irrigation channels, or for drainage is to be carried out. A permanent place for curing should be planned preferably at the entrance, while compost pits are located on near side of the plantations. It is necessary to establish shade prior to planting of cardamom. Hence, planning and planting of shade tree saplings should be made well in advance by at least 2 years. Keep only appropriate shade by thinning out excess branches so that only 35% of the sunlight is infiltrated down to its canopy. UTIs or Himalayan elder is most important among shade trees. Other important shade trees are Chilvan, Saima Valechi, Panissas, Pipli, Burklandra papulnia, Malato, Macaranga denticulata, and Iswarthia gardeneri. The shade trees are planted either in alternate rows or mixed intermittently in the same row with a spacing of 7 to 10 meter between plants for uniform shade on plantations. A few progressive planters believe that a mixture of UTIs Ceres gurpis, UTIs Ergeli billionae, UTI Ashare chelotri, etc. would be beneficial. After care, generally weed tracing is carried out twice a year, once during the onset of monsoons, May, June, and before harvesting. Mulching is done by covering fallen leaves around the collar regions of the clumps during November, April. Irrigation. Cardamom plants do not tolerate drought. A continuous dry spell of about 2 months may result in huge mortality. Constant maintenance of optimum soil moisture ensures better growth and early bearing. Irrigations may be provided once in a way every 10 days during December, April. Irrigation through the ground channels requires ample water resource and is difficult to manage over steep slopes. In such cases, either drip or sprinkler sets have proved efficient. Specialized and advanced systems of drip or sprinklers have come up with which are practiced by few cardamom planters. These systems also provide nutrients through irrigation water. Shade regulation. Tall growing trees are beheaded regularly at a height of 4 to 5 meter to encourage spreading habit with renewed vegetative vigor to provide a uniform shade and higher quantities of leaf litter. Rogging and gap filling. About 5 to 10% of the plants are damaged due to disease, insect pests, hailstorms, frost, and drought conditions. Hence, remove affected plants and replace them by healthy ones. This also helps maintain an effective plant population. The ideal time for gap filling is May to July. Manuring and fertilization. Provide forest soil or leaf litter at the rate of 5 kg mixed with a low graded compost. NPK fertilizers 15, 10, 12 at the rate of 0.2 kg per plant during April-May should also be given. The suckers and bare rooted seedlings are planted in shallow pits with stakes, whereas polybag seedlings do not require stakes as they have well established roots. Fertilizer mixture consisting of 20 gram diammonium phosphate and 15 gram muriate of potash dissolved in 2 liters of water may be drenched twice around each plant during April, May and October, November. Drenching of fertilizers mixture at the rate of 3 to 5 liters along with 10 to 15 kg leaf litter per plant is very effective. Earthing up around the clump once soon after harvesting also ensures better management of available nutrients in the soil apart from acting as a mulch. However, it is necessary to maintain least interference in the soil. Harvesting and post-harvest management. The bearing clumps are cleaned at the collar regions prior to actual harvesting. All diseased, hollow-hearted, old and dried shoots are removed from the clumps, leaving no stubbles. Generally, harvesting is done during August-September at low and mid altitudes and November-December at high altitudes. The bearing spikes are removed from the base of their attachment at the collar regions using a sharp edged knife. The first crop is ready 2.5 years after planting in both cases of sucker as well as seedling plantation. However, stabilized yields are obtained only from 4th year onwards. An average yield of about 450 kg dry or cured capsules may be obtained from a hectare of crop during 4th to 10th year. Sustained yields are normally expected up to 15th year from planting. However, constant replanting by replacing the old and regenerated clumps every year in the plantation along with the optimum shade and nutrition may keep them productive for many more years. Since raw capsules are fleshy, they contain up to 85% moisture. The fresh capsules have poor keeping quality and are high perishable once they are harvested. Hence, they are immediately cured to retain only about 10 to 13% moisture on dry weight basis. The retention of natural color and flavor during curing is most important. The flavor constituents are highly volatile and are easily lost due to direct heat and high temperatures greater than 55 degrees centigrade, whereas the packed, hot, humid conditions of curing chamber may result in discoloration and oozing of capsules. Hence, it is necessary to adopt appropriate curing techniques which involve indirect heating with optimum temperatures range 50 to 55 degrees centigrade, rapid air circulation within the exhaustion of moist air from the curing unit. The maintenance of the unit must be inexpensive and can be installed and operated near or in the vicinity of cardamom plantations of remote hilly areas. The cured produce needs to be packed in insect-proof bags. Coal tar coated and polythene and lined gunny bags are effective against insect attacks during storage. Curing of capsules to moisture level of 10% and packing them in airtight containers also ensure protection against insects, but in any case, these packages should offer logistic advantages such as lightweight, functionally and low cost. Packaging becomes specific, especially when the commodity is expected in any form, such as whole capsule, seed or spice powder. Thank you for patience hearing.